get to some of the camp battles that we will be definitely watching here at training camp. I do have to announce me and Big B will be there at training camp August 9th through
There you go.
that week. We will be charging $5 for signatures, $10 for pictures. So make sure
You
you
got to
have
bring your
cash
8x10s.
Yeah, somebody's got to pay the bills around here. So some of the camp battles here, quarterback number 1, which will be really interesting, really hard to say right now. But Big B, regardless of what happens, if it's Jordan Love or if it's Aaron Rodgers, whoever shows up, how do you think these other guys that play out? The Packers have signed a multitude of guys: Kurt Benkert, the legendary Blake Bortles, Jake Dolegala. Out of those 3 guys, do you think any of them make the roster?
I don't see more than 2 making the roster, but I definitely can see like Kurt Benkert making the practice squad definitely this year if he does have a great camp, which I think he does because he has the hair already. So I mean, he's already a lock for the practice squad. So yeah, I only see 2 making the official 53-man roster.
Yeah, if we're in Green Bay and we don't see Kurt Benkert riding on a skateboard at least once, I want a refund from somebody. Big B, now you got another camp battle here. Let's hear it. Don't bring up Jamal Williams too much. Don't get too reminiscent.
Okay. I'll try to simmer down a bit. But Packers did lose Jamal Williams and they did draft A.J. Dillon. So now we have a running back number 3 spot wide open. Some guys are Kylan Hill, who we just drafted, Dexter Williams, who is pretty much off the roster right now because I think we all know, and Patrick Taylor, the undrafted free agent last year, who didn't see much. Well, he didn't see any playing time last year, and he got hurt. I think I don't even know when he got hurt. Don't remember, but it'll definitely be very interesting to see who gets that running back number 3 spot.
Yeah, Wes, you've watched more training camps than us. So what do you think it really comes down to with these guys? So, how much does the other skills that they can possess factor into this, like their pass protection, special teams, and whatnot?
Yeah, special teams is going to be huge for that number 3 running back role and who emerges there. Certainly look at even A.J. Dillon last year. He did his own amount of special teams work. And certainly Jamal Williams, as Big B is well familiar with, was basically almost a 4-core special teams player. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the most consistent and prudent, players that I covered at that position, considering what he offered offensively. Didn't fumble in 4 years, but also could return if they needed him to. He could block in the posse back on kickoff returns and, could even be a personnel protector on punts. So he offered them a lot of versatility that they're going to miss there. So A.J. Dillon has to pick up some of that slack, but the guy I'm really excited to see, though, is Patrick Taylor. And you guys here, when you get there August 9th, you're going to see him. Patrick Taylor looks to me like a more filled out version of James Starks. He's about 6'2". He is a man among boys out there. I mean, you can see why the Packers really like this guy coming out of Memphis. Unfortunately for him, it was that weird Lisfranc type foot injury he had. It wiped him out for pretty much all of his last season in Memphis and then kept him out of practice through almost December. So now he's healthy. He was out there during the offseason program, and it's a 3-horse race there right now with them putting Mike Weber. So seeing which guy emerges there is going to be really interesting to watch. And be honest with you, as much attention has been thrown on, the quarterback situation with Rodgers and Love and everything around that orbit, the Packers went in the span of 28 days and acquired 3 really interesting quarterbacks, whether it's Blake Bortles trying to get his career back on track, whether it's Kurt Benkert, who's actually was with Matt Schaub. He was in that offense with Matt Ryan. That's 2 players that Matt LaFleur is very familiar with from his time in Atlanta, trusts what the development was there, certainly has a very affable personality that we've seen a lot of. And Jake Dolegala, guys, 6'7", 247 pounds.
Ow.
If he would ever find his way onto the Packers roster, he would be tied for the tallest quarterback in team history. So it isn't your typical undrafted rookie that they signed, a Tim Boyle, a Taysom Hill, a Joe Callahan, but there's 3 guys there that are entrenched in a really interesting battle for what will either be the number 2 or number 3 quarterback position.
Did Cliff Crystal give you that tidbit on the tallest quarterback?
I looked that up myself, believe it or not.
Wow.
I actually did the research. I was like, there's a 6'7", 242 pound quarterback in camp. I got to see where this guy actually ranks in the team annals, but he's he's a tall drink of water. And, my first impressions, I only got to see him for a couple days, but, seems to have a live arm. I really was impressed with Ben Kurt. And it's not just the hair. It's not just the flash. It's not the video games. The guy has a live arm, and you can see why Atlanta invested as much time as they did into him the last 3 years, and why Green Bay was quick to pick him up and take a look, when he did come available here after the draft.
Yeah, I'm hoping the best for Ben Kurt. And yeah, it is really an interesting mix and group of backup quarterbacks at that position. As far as running back goes, I do think Kylan Hill has the best chance. But Patrick Taylor, I really like Mike Weber, maybe only because he was very good in Madden franchise. But fortunately, he's no longer on the roster. Moving on to the wide receivers here. Another interesting group of guys behind the three obvious ones, really: Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Allen Lazard. You have Devin Funches, Equinemius St. Brown, Malik Taylor, and Juwan Winfrey. Now, Wes, we've heard quite a bit about the past 2 off seasons about Juwan really shining in minicamp whenever you got the opportunity. What have you seen from Winfrey so far?
Had a nice camp. Made couple of the biggest plays of the entire offseason program, at least during the portions of practice that were open to the media. With the decision that the receivers made, the veteran receivers made, where they weren't at OTAs, whatever all that played into it, Winfrey was a guy who maximized his snaps with the first team offense. And certainly at the end of minicamp there, had that nice 50-yard catch from Jordan Love in what was, Love's best practice, in my opinion. And again, in one that was available to the media. So I was really impressed with him. Has some versatility there, could play inside, can run the boundary a little bit. But the thing that I like the most about this receiver group is it's kind of an a la carte sort of situation right now for the Packers. Certainly Devontae Adams is going to be on the field 97% of your plays offensively. So there's 4 other skill position players you got to get on the field. Green Bay, for a number of years there, basically kept the same prototype for the type of receiver they were looking for. 6'4", 200 pounds, fast. They mixed it up a little bit now. Now, Funchess certainly is a guy, again, that fans will see is very physically imposing, has a good track record there. Obviously, has been a good locker room guy throughout the course of his career. I enjoyed talking to him in the one Zoom we had with him. Seems to have a really interesting personality. But the wild card is Amari Rodgers, because I think the table is set for him to be able to make that year one impact like Randall Cobb made in 2011. There's going to be packages for him. They need that jet motion aspect of that offense. The offense was not the same when they couldn't do it. And obviously you want to be able to have Aaron Jones in the backfield as often as possible. So I think Rodgers is really the linchpin, and then seeing how they move the rest of those pieces. Allen Lazard's back. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a nice season last year. A lot of guys that are going to be competing for a handful of positions and roles in this offense. And ultimately, at the end of the day, a couple jobs as well.
Yeah, Big B, what do you think of the guys like EQ specifically who, and there's a plethora of different guys, not specifically just at wide receiver, but this training camp is going to be really big for them. EQ coming up on his 4th year of his contract. He still has a lot to prove. Josh Jackson. What are you looking at for some of those guys? Maybe list a few more that you think really have to prove a lot this upcoming camp.
Well, another guy is Oren Burks, who, man, I don't even know what's happening with him at this point. I feel like he's always injured. He's a guy I definitely want to see step up a bit this off season. And man, I really hope EQ gets it together. Wasn't he hurt last year? I don't remember.
Yeah, he had a season injury, kept him out all of 2019, I believe.
And he kind of dealt with the knee last year then too, with a couple games sidelining him. So yeah, that's been one of the big things.
Yeah, so hopefully he can stay injured. I definitely
stay healthy. You said I hope he can stay injured.
Oh yeah.
I guess we just missed a chance for EQ to ever come on the show.
Sorry, EQ, I love you.
But yeah, there's a lot of other guys, specifically one Big B at the tight end 3 position. What do you think of some of those guys? Jace Sternberger, who has a 2-game suspension. I think this year is going to be really big for him. How do you think that's all going to play out between him, Dominique Daphne, and then Josiah DeGuara, who plays kind of a different role?
Yeah, well, Daphne and DeGuara has kind of a different role in the offense than Jay Sternberger. But with his 2-game suspension, of course, that leaves like pretty much a free roster spot on the roster. And I'm excited to see what Daphne does this offseason because he was not with the team last year, right, Wes?
That's correct.
Yep. Signed him later in the year, and I'm just excited to see. I'm a big Daphne fans, so
Yep.